Who were the top 10 fullbacks of 2025? That is the question we're going to answer today. I'm Phoenix Trinidad. This is Darren Parkin, our Zero Tackle analyst. Darren, let's start with what makes a good fullback.
Obviously, they are the game creators. They start a lot of the sets. They've won 5 of the last 8 Dally M's. They occupy 9 spots in our top 25 MVPs of the year through Zero Tackle. So, yeah, they've got to have that defensive mix, that attacking mix, the creator and the most reliable. So, it's a player that can usually play multiple positions, but is most at home in that position of real responsibility.
Yeah, extremely important. So let's get to the countdown. But actually, before we do that, just remember that this video is brought to you by ZeroTackle.com. Not only is it Australia's #1 independent NRL news source, it also has games. So this is a fun one for the off-season. If you want to test your footy knowledge with NRL Streaker or NRL Name Scramble, you can do that over at ZeroTackle.com. Also, subscribe to this YouTube channel. This is part of a series. Next video, we're going to be talking about the top 10 wingers of 2025. But for now, comment and let's look at the top 10 fullbacks for 2025. Number 10, Jai Gray from the South Sydney Rabbitohs. So 19 games this year. Probably exceeded all expectations in a pretty injury-ravaged side.
Yeah, and obviously no stability around him with all of those injuries. It looked at times like they'd barely field a required side. They were that hard hit, and he was a real shining light. 172 metres per game, 11 try involvements, scoring 5 of those. But for a bit of perspective there as well, he was forced to make 129 tackles, and a lot of those were one-on-one try savers. For context, Reece Walsh played 2 more games and laid 96 tackles. So obviously one of those was the most significant one-on-one try-saving tackle of the season in Reece Walsh's case. But Jai Gray obviously stepped in the absence of Latrell Mitchell early in the year, and if he wants that role, it's probably his long-term.
Yeah, interesting thing about him too is that it doesn't always play fullback. He also he's in the 5'8", defensively sound, and yes, he is our number 10. Number 9, AJ Brimson from the Titans. 23 games. Criminally underrated, I reckon.
Yeah, even by English selectors. Obviously, he was born in Australia, but some English parentage or heritage and switched allegiances. Didn't get picked in the first test for England, which surprised a few people, given, they should have been looking for experience within the NRL, within that lineup. But 142 metres per game. He averaged quite a bit higher than that when he played at fullback. He only played about half his games. I think it was 13, a little bit more than half at fullback. Played 5'8", played centres as well, in a side that obviously struggled significantly, but they were at their best when he was in that role. So obviously with the changes off field at the Titans, that'd be one that they'd be looking to implement full time.
All right, number 8, Dylan Edwards from the Penrith Panthers. I reckon some people are going to absolutely crack it that he is a little bit high on this list, but you know what you're getting with Dylan Edwards.
Yeah, if we had done this list last year, it would have been 1 or 2. And at the start of the year, that would have been the expectation. I know Sowie, whenever we brought him up on loose carry, it feels like people were prepared to move him aside at every moment. It's like, okay, who's replacing Edwards at origin level and for Australia? And I think he's the victim of the bar that he set. But if you look at his numbers, career high try assists, 3rd in the competition for total run meters, broke 98 tackles. Penrith struggled early, as did he, but they got better, and so did he. So I think he's probably paying the price a little bit for how good he's been in the past, but it wasn't the same season. Yeah,
that's the thing with Penrith and anybody from that system is that they set the standard so high for themselves that when it doesn't completely go their way, then it feels like they're just falling off a cliff. But really, Dylan Edwards, pretty deserving number 8. I would probably have him in top 5. But, anyway.
We'll put that disclaimer on it. A lot of it's based on the season. If you were to line them all up in the schoolyard, you're picking him pretty early.
Yep. Number 7, from the Eels, Isaiah Iongi. So, huge shoes to fill after moving from Penrith to replace Clint Gutherson.
Yeah, and that was always going to be a controversial decision. Jason Riles would feel somewhat vindicated. Obviously, you've then got to win over a fan base when you've moved on a big player like that. But, he may have been Rookie of the Year had it not been for a couple of late setbacks. He only played 1 game for Penrith and then comes and has 21 appearances with Parramatta, 172 metres a game, 12 try assists, 10 line breaks. And when they got better at the back end of the season in the last 2 months, a lot of that was to do with the groundwork that he'd been putting in place.
Yeah, and definitely going to be probably one of the most important people in that para rebuild going forward. Number 6, William Kennedy from the Sharks. 27 games played, so that probably tells you enough right there. Just consistent numbers, dropped off a little bit in that second half of the season, though.
Yeah, had we have done a forecast at the start of the year, he might not have even been mentioned, or he might have been on the fringes outside of a top 10, but career best basically in every statistical category. Came from well out of the top 10 to being nearly in the top 5. So 80% tackle efficiency, which is very good for the position that he plays. 13 try assists. He's re-signed with the Sharks, but it may be his last season. In fact, probably his last season in 2026, unless they can convince him otherwise.
Number 5, the Hammer from the Dolphins. 21 games played. Probably my personal favourite to watch on this list. That might be a little bit controversial, but, how can you go past the Hammer?
Yeah, well, the Dolphins easily the best attacking side in the comp, one of the most exciting sides to watch in the competition, and he's a part of that. He probably played, I know Reece Walsh had some unbelievable finals, but the Hammer probably played the best game of the season with that 4-try effort against the Bunnies, about round 17, I think it was, and part of why they're so offensively gifted. So, he did play centre a little bit late in the season, but was generally a mainstay in that fullback position and can score for fun. So if the Dolphins tighten up, I guess, the other side of their game, then he could be a real weapon if they play finals. Yeah,
22 tries with 21 games played, so that averages over a try a game. Although, it's probably blown out a bit from that 4-game effort. But, a 4-try effort, sorry. But, just absolutely love the Hammer. Number 4, Scott Drinkwater from the Cowboys. So this one, kind of a dicey one to say now because he might not be offered a contract at the end of 2027, but he was one of the best fullbacks of 2025.
He was, and in a side that really did struggle, his ability to read the game, and he kept them in a lot of matches by being that offensive weapon. There's a little disclaimer that he missed upwards of 70 tackles for the year, and in a defence that is pretty shoddy. But I think a lot of that is him trying to often do more than he should be asked to do, given some of those frailties around him. But he's top 2 to 3 in scoring stats, try assists, those sorts of things. So still a very worthy position in the top 5, given the responsibility he had to carry.
Number 3, KO Weeks from the Canberra Raiders. So if you came to me at the start of the season and said who's going to be the breakout player, I probably wouldn't have had KO Weeks, but their year was unbelievable, and he was a massive part of that. Yeah,
over 157 metres gained, 118 tackle breaks, top 5 in the competition. Had a tremendous season, major factor in why they finished on top, and also in the qualifying final against Brisbane that they probably should have won. He was outstanding in that game, and the whole makeup of the season looks different if they win that game and go through to a home prelim. So improved defensively, improved offensively, and if the Raiders are to continue that push and challenge to win premierships, he'll be a major factor.
Number 2, James Tedesco from the Sydney Roosters. So if you've done the math and Tedesco is coming in second, you've probably figured out who number 1 is, and this is probably where the controversy is going to come in. So Dally M for Tedesco, but number 2, only second best, but just an amazing season. He is, 50 years old at this point? He's putting these numbers up.
Yeah, and still obviously re-signed again through for 2027. But once we got to 3, you probably knew who the last 2 names were going to be, and then it was just a case of which way were we going to land. And had this been done at the end of the home and away season, at the start of September, he probably wins it. It's just the guy that we had number 1. You'll obviously know why on reflection, but he's the best tackle buster in the game. Tedesco, top 5 for line break assists and run meters. 294 meters per game is huge. He was the best player in the home and away season, and that's in a transitioning team who were expected to probably miss the finals comfortably, and the fact that they made it again is in large part due to what he was able to do.
And it's just this year he was so safe with the ball in hand, and just the consistency that he brings out, and that's why I think it's going to be quite controversial with who our number 1 is in comparison. But you can't go past the number 1, but also it's very hard to go past the number 2. So well done to James Tedesco. Number 1, Reece Walsh from the Brisbane Broncos. So, where do we want to start with Reece Walsh? Probably had the best, 8-week period of any NRL player ever. But up and down for that first half of the year.
He was, yeah. And when the Broncos flew through the back month and then through that finals campaign, he produced some of the best individual games in the finals. His preliminary final against Penrith, his grand final against the Melbourne Storm, then the first test match for Australia, if you want to go beyond that as well, was incredible. He would have been top 5 last year, even as a 22-year-old, but now as a 23-year-old, if you pick your team up on your back and carry them to a premiership and you're the best player through every final, I think that's enough. And that's what's really separated him and Tedesco, who may have done the same thing had you have reversed teams. But super effort from Reece Walsh.
Yeah, just unbelievable effort. Unbelievable year. I think it was Lee Addison on Loose Carry that we were talking about, next year, if he can bring that. He's already, obviously the number 1 fullback. If he can bring that floor of his game up a couple of floors, that didn't really make sense. But if he can bring it, if he can bring it up, he's going to be unstoppable, and he pretty much already is. So if he can carry this momentum that he has now into the start of the season next year, I mean, that's going to be back to back for the Broncos, surely. But.
Yeah, that's you did a bit of an Ace Ventura. It's not Ace Ventura, an Austin Powers. Allow myself to introduce myself.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that is our top 10 fullbacks for 2025. And before we sign off, big shout out to Dan Nichols and Scott Pride, who both helped put this list together. You can find both of their handy writing work over at zerotackle.com. Subscribe to the YouTube channel because next video we'll be talking about the top 10 wingers. Comment, subscribe. Thank you, Darren. We'll catch you on the next one.